Hello, hello. Um, can everyone hear me? Looks like people have joined. Awesome, we'll get it started. Hello from Germany. Hi, Sebastian. Cool. Well, welcome everyone to the event. This is our Parachain rollout presentation and panel. My name is Kinsa Durst, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Republic Crypto. And we're super excited to host this event. It's very relevant, especially since there's Kusama Parachain auctions that's going on right now. I believe it's the 6th one that you can participate in. So hopefully this event helps you learn more about the auctions, learn more about the Polkadot ecosystem as a whole, and help you make better, smarter decisions. So yeah, I think our agenda is designed to be approachable for people from all backgrounds, from people who are new to Polkadot to people who are Polkadot aficionados. So the schedule is we'll start with intro to Polkadot and Parachain auctions, and then we'll have a panel talk into a short Q&A session. Before we start, I'd like to, of course, thank our co-hosts, Stanford Blockchain Club, and also Blockchain at Berkeley. They've been instrumental in amplifying this event, as well as helping us organize the panel, etc. And of course, our panelists as well. They're taking time out of their very busy schedule to come here, talk about what they're doing, and answer some questions as well. Super excited. And if you can't stay for the whole thing, no worries. We'll send an email out to all the people who signed up with the video, the presentation slides, etc. So no worries if you can't stay for the entire event. But without further ado, let's get started. I'd like to invite up Emre from the Web3 Foundation, who'll be giving a presentation about Polkadot and an introduction to Parachain auctions.
Hey, thanks. Hi, everybody. Let me share my screen. Right. Welcome, everybody. This is an intro to Polkadot and Parachains. My name is Emre. I am a technical educator at the Web3 Foundation. You can contact me via Twitter, Telegram, LinkedIn, or just shoot me an email. So Polkadot is a heterogeneous multi-chain, and it connects multiple blockchains and allows interoperability and connection to pooled security. So we believe in a decentralized and fair internet where users control their own destiny and data identity as well. And our founders, Gavin, Robert, Peter, are all blockchain experts. Gavin, you guys probably know of, was one of the co-founders of Ethereum and the first CTO. He wrote the first C++ implementation of Ethereum, as well as the Solidity programming language. So this is kind of where they saw blockchain going towards. So we call Polkadot a Generation 3 blockchain, Bitcoin being Gen 1, Ethereum being Gen 2, etc. So the ecosystem that Polkadot encapsulates is ran by Web3 Foundation, which I'm a part of. And that's where we kind of do the research and the education, grants for different projects, interactions with community. And the development arm, Parity Technologies, is where the developers are. And Parity started as kind of like an Ethereum client, some of you might know. And then as Gavin left Ethereum, Polkadot became its main focus. So Polkadot architecture, we visualize it as such. So we have this thing called the relay chain. So the relay chain is the main kind of chain of Polkadot, and that is where the connection to the network happens. So the relay chain is mostly responsible for message passing between different connected, what we call parachains. The relay chain blocks also have transaction data about the dot tokens. So the connected parts are what we call the parachains, or they can also be parathreads. So there's different ways to connect to Polkadot. And parachains are kind of like third-party layer 1 solutions. So we call Polkadot a layer 0 network because we believe that it's kind of the protocol that allows different blockchains to communicate. An analogy that I like to use is the early stages of the internet, where the internet was these isolated networks in universities that couldn't really communicate with one another until we started developing protocols that allowed them to. So TCP, UDP, on top of which we built HTTP. Only then we started building these like really applications, websites, and things that we use as a society. So we really see Polkadot as kind of those protocol layers. So what do I mean by interoperability? So I mean that like connected chains should be able to communicate with one another. We're able to achieve this with a cross-chain message passing functionality that we've developed that allows different connected chains to be able to communicate about their state to each other. So different ways to communicate, different ways to connect to Polkadot include being a parachain, which is just kind of like a full blockchain that could connect to Polkadot. A parathread, which is something that is, so all parachains we consider parathreads before they become parachains. So parathreads are kind of, they don't need to build blocks every 6 seconds or so, however many times. They are kind of these less applications that might have less throughput. And bridges. So, you could also be a established chain such as Bitcoin, and you want to still connect to Polkadot and use the interoperability functionalities such as the messaging. And that's when you would kind of become a bridge. And there's some different solutions to bridges than there are for like parachains and parathreads. So the relay chain, kind of the main chain, has its validators. So Polkadot is a proof of stake, namely a nominated proof of stake blockchain. And the validators validate the transactions and create the blocks for the relay chain. And then we have the parachains that connect to the relay chain that have collators. So the collators are validators for the parachain that have information about both the parachain and the relay chain. So they pass messages to the validators about the state of the parachain. So the collators actually run a full node of the parachain as well as the relay chain. And then we have external chains, Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc., that can be bridges that connect to this architecture as well. One of the main important features of Polkadot is its governance system. So Polkadot has an elaborate governance mechanism that allows dot holders to participate in public referenda. You can propose or you can vote on referenda using your dot tokens. If the referenda passes, the code that is proposed with the referenda gets included in the next runtime upgrade. So as soon as any type of decision is made on chain, the voting happens on chain, and as soon as it passes, it kind of automatically appears in the next block as a new runtime upgrade. Polkadot uses something we call conviction voting, where we don't see one dot equals one vote type thing. We allow dot holders to lock up their dots for extended periods of time to increase their voting power, all the way up to 6 times the voting power. So once your dot is locked in that conviction mechanism, you can still stake and vote, but you can't transfer the dot into other accounts. So with that being said, Kusama is a part of the ecosystem that is a really important part. So it is what we call the Canary Network. It's not necessarily a test network, though it does allow us to test things and break things before we deem it ready for Polkadot. So Polkadot is something that we make sure that only the working parts of the code, the parachains, functionalities, and things like that get added. So we test everything on Kusama first. This is a live network that has its own token, and we call it kind of the Canary Network. That's where the current Parachain auctions are happening. So speaking of Parachains, so how do Parachains become a part of the network? So we have these things called slot auctions. We at first in June opened up 5 slots. So June, July was the first 5 Parachain slot auctions. And we use a candle auction mechanism. It's kind of like this old format of you start a candle, by the time the candle goes out, everybody needs to bid, but nobody really knows when the candle is going to go out. So it reduces what we call sniping. If you ever bought something on eBay, you know what sniping is. You wait till the last second to make your bid. We kind of added on to that. I'll explain it in the next slide. Each slot opens up for about every 1 week. So the next, let's see, today's the 2nd day since the second 5 slots have started. So the next 35, 40 days or whatever is going to be the next 5 slot auctions. So in Polkadot, we introduced a retrospective way of electing when to win the bidding time. So the candle phase, so there's the start of the auction, end of the auction, and then there's the candle phase of the auction when we start the candle. And we use a VRF, which is a verified random function, to retrospectively choose the moment where we elect the winning bid for the slot. So this kind of incentivizes, creates different incentives around the election, the auction mechanism. So people don't wait till the last minute to introduce their bids for the auction slots. So these are the first 5 auction slots that we had. Let's look at the first one, for example. It started on the 15th of June, ended on the 22nd. Start of the candle period was on the 17th, and the termination block actually was retrospectively elected to be on the 21st. And so on and so forth for the rest of the auctions slots. So one thing in addition to these auctions is we have Parachain crowd loans. So projects are able to crowd fund their the amounts that they're bidding for these slots. The Parachain teams are responsible for the design of the crowd loans. Considerations include like how much, what's your cap, how are you distributing your tokens to the lenders, and the crowd loan participants essentially lock up their tokens into these Parachain projects that they believe in, increasing their probability of winning a slot. The locked tokens remain in the custody of the relay chain, so they don't actually go to the Parachain account or something. Those tokens get locked up for the duration of the auction, and if the project that they locked up their token for wins the auction, the slot, those tokens stay locked till the lease period ends. If the project that they gave the locked up their tokens for doesn't win, then those tokens are therefore released back to the original investor. So let's take a look at the first 5 auction slots that we had in June and July. So 18 crowd loans were registered. Surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, all of the Parachains that participated in the first 5 slot auctions were all crowd loans, crowd loan fueled. And so we had contributions from about 19,000 unique accounts, and 1.3 million Kusama was bonded for crowd loans, and about 1.1 million Kusama has been locked until May 13, 2022, when those lease periods end, meaning that like about 90% of the Kusama, maybe more, that participated is going to stay locked. So these are the top 8 projects. Sorry for the blurriness of the image, by the way. Ranked by number of contributors. Karura, Moon River, Shiden, Bitfrost, Acala. These were the winners of the 5 slots, first 5 slots. And if you look at, for example, Karura, they raised around 500,000 Kusama. I think with the current price of Kusama, I think that's like around $200 million or something. So that was locked up as their crowd loans, I believe, most of that. The average contribution was about 24 Kusama. The winners, if we look at the candle mechanism of the, let's say, winners, let's pick Moon River, for example. So pre-candle phase, there was about 158,898 Kusama. During the candle phase pre-termination, there was about 17,587 Kusama. Post-termination of the candle termination block, which was retrospectively chosen, there was about 29,450 Kusama. So the percentage in the candle phase by the termination time was about 47% of the bonded tokens. As you can see, majority of the tokens were locked up pre-candle phase. So it seems that the incentive for crowd loans is to put your lock up your tokens kind of like early as possible. So right now we have the second 5 slot auctions running. I kind of want to take a quick look at the state of them. So I have my Polkadot.js app open here. So this is the Polkadot.js app. If you haven't seen it before, I'm in the network tab in the Parachain crowd loan portion of the network tab. So we have about 23 funds. That includes the 5 winners of the first 5 slot auctions. Currently, we have some ongoing Parachain Parachains that are ongoing in the auctions. As you can see, some of them have different caps, and they're all most likely crowdfunded as well. So right now, we are gonna, for the next 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to be locking up the next 5 auction slots. And it's pretty exciting to see what projects are going to take those. And with that being said, if you want to participate in these things, if you want to learn more, if you're a developer and you want to develop in our ecosystem, we'll share these slides with you at the end. Here's some, at the end of the slides, you can access some resources. The wiki is a great place for documentation about these things. Please read our white paper. And if you want to connect with our team, there's a link here for you as well. So yeah, with that being said, thank you for tuning in and looking forward to the panel.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emre. We will be sending over the presentation slides in the follow-up email for you guys, as well as how to learn more, how to participate, get involved. It'll all be included in the email, so no worries if you couldn't get all the information at this moment. But yeah, let me invite up our panelists for the next session. Just one moment. Actually, while I do that, I will make the intros in a moment.
Hey there.
Hello. Looks like everyone's connecting at the moment. Great. Just waiting on one more, which is Stas. So I'm super excited for this panel because I think we have a couple projects that have already gone through the crowd loan process. Acala's, Karua and Moon River, and we have a couple projects that are gearing up for the PLO. So I think we'll get quite a variety of insights and perspective here. So looking forward to it. So thank you guys all for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Thank you
for having us. Happy to be here.
Nice. And to kick off, I'll let you guys kind of start with a short intro about yourself.
I guess I can if we're going in kind of Brady Bunch order here, I guess I can do that. So I'm Derek Yu. I'm the CEO of PureStake, but we're working on the project Moonbeam, and the network that you were just referring to is that we just launched is called Moon River. So that's the name of our Kusama deployment. The quick idea on the project is that we're aiming to provide kind of the easiest possible developer platform for building applications within the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystems. We're doing that by creating kind of as close to an Ethereum-like experience as we can, but then extending it with cross-chain integrations and connectivity that are made possible by uniquely made possible by Kusama and Polkadot.
Yeah, I think we can go in a circle here. Bette, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here. So I'm Bette. I'm co-founder of Acala. I'm calling in from Auckland, New Zealand. I see some folks also from Southern Hemisphere chatting in the chat, so that's good to see. So Acala is a DeFi hub and also liquidity hub on the Polkadot ecosystem. So we are very much specialized in building the decentralized financial infrastructure and also be able to power the more hi-fi, what we call centralized and decentralized finance to give everybody access to freer and more open finance services. So that's us. And then we are also an open platform, so you can deploy smart contracts and also in various different types as well. I think that's the beauty of the substrate framework and also the Polkadot ecosystem. At a very high level, everyone having a parachain, but actually everyone here on the screen, in one way or another, we're going to integrate and collaborate, and collectively, it's going to bring the Web3 infrastructure to everyone. So yeah, so that's us.
Awesome. Thank you. And next we got Stas.
Hi guys, my name is Stas. I'm one of the co-founders of Pontem. We basically creating something we call Kusama for DM. In Nashville environment, we have a lot of proficiency building and using the upcoming DM ecosystem since the time it was called Libra. We started working on this area back in 2018. We basically aiming to create an environment where people can experiment both with technology and this idea, and to become DM ready, and be able to get listed on DM, launch it on DM once it's up and running. And that's basically our mission is to educate and present what kind of great technology we believe will be with DM. We also now focusing a lot of the metaverse and what role DM will be taking metaverse as the financial fabric of metaverse, and we're creating all the tool sets which will enable people to become let's call it VASP, Virtual Asset Service Provider entity, that will have the right to launch on top of DM. So that's basically more or less what we are trying to achieve.
Thank you. And Elliot.
Awesome. Well, Elliot here, Chief Blockchain Officer of Nodal. And to put it short, Nodal is a global decentralized IoT connectivity provider. So we use smartphones to just connect nearby IoT devices. And today we have around 5 million daily active smartphones on the network, connecting around 80 million IoT devices on a daily basis.
Amazing. Last
By the way, Nodal is an amazing project. We are seed investors.
All right.
Yeah,
so Bette already introduced Acala and Karua. So we're working on the same team. Very happy to join them February 1st of this year. Prior to that, I was working at Web3 Foundation and worked on Polkadot and Kusama. So both of those topics and this topic of educating on Polkadot and Parachain auctions is something that I have done a lot of and really enjoyed doing. So thanks for having me on to the team.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. And to kick off, we'd like to ask, why did you guys end up building on Polkadot? It's a lot of effort. Each one of you guys are either have a parachain or going for a parachain. So why Polkadot, and what value are you guys bringing to the ecosystem as a parachain?
Same order.
Good question, huh?
I'm not sure which order we should go.
You should go, Derek.
Okay. All right.
You're
I
the
will.
first.
I will. So, yeah. So why Polkadot? So I think definitely like a big part of that story is substrate. And so substrate, for those that may not be familiar, is basically the technical framework that one uses to develop parachains that were described earlier in the presentation that connect to Polkadot. And I think substrate is really something special. So I would describe it this way: that it kind of allows for like maximum expressivity. Like, so, on a lot of other platforms, you kind of have to, you're constrained by, the features that are available, maybe the APIs, there's different constraints that you have to work within. But I would say that substrate as a framework is like extremely flexible. And sometimes it's almost like so flexible that it's a little bit complicated to use, but it's definitely like, kind of maximally flexible. So I think when you're trying to express yourself or whatever your idea is, it's like this very powerful, you have this like really big canvas to paint on. Like, so that I would say that was quite attractive to us, to have this very powerful framework. And then, that framework combined with this, I kind of think of it as like a networking layer, basically, right? So you have this kind of like built-in networking layer to communicate with other chains. So I think it's just really the combination of those two things, kind of more from a technical perspective, are kind of the key reasons I think that we chose, to build in this ecosystem.
Yeah, I just add to that, because I think Derek and I know each other for a long time now, right? If we look back, I don't know whether there's 2 years, maybe more than 2 years that we've been building in the ecosystem. So probably one of the first teams that's been around. And it's been a long time coming, I think, to this point. Everyone's got a live chain now, so it's pretty exciting. But back in the days, so me and my other co-founders in Acala, we stumble across Substrate about 3 years ago when we tried to find some platform that we can build application on top of, because we are more focused on application rather than infrastructure, because we don't actually want to write our own consensus per se, but we want to actually bring the blockchain technology to serve more people, more specifically in the finance area. So back in the days, when we look around, there are only a few choices. Some of them are still here today. Some of them are already, couldn't find that project anymore. But notably, we've looked at East 2.0. Back then was still white paper. And then we also looked at Cosmos SDK. It was quite a comparable sort of tech stack back then. And obviously, Substrate back then was version 0.8 or something. So it was like pretty painful to use back then. But then, it's a comparable tech stack. So as Derek pointed out, like the tech stack is pretty awesome. Even back in the days, you can actually build anything on top without worrying of a lot of the low-level stuff like peer-to-peer communication, which as an application builder, I want to actually solve a UX problem or deliver a certain financial services to the mass market. I don't want to actually go into the details of peer-to-peer communication or even worrying about consensus, in the level that we are developing. So certainly a framework like this is very attractive to us. But more so, as a startup, when we look at Cosmos, right? So even though the tech stack is similar, but the economic structure is very different. If we were to actually run a chain on Cosmos, we would have to raise, $200 million, $300 million to even just be able to bootstrap the security of the network, because we build financial applications. So we cannot have a chain that has a lower security value than the application built on top of it, right? So that is a huge concern of ourselves. Like we don't want to go through that process. Like how many blockchains can raise $200 million each? You're going to drain up all the funding out there, and it's very much unnecessary. So Polkadot solve one of those problems because when we go live now today, we will be enjoying Polkadot's 30 billion market cap. And so far, I probably can't say after today, but so far, Acala have only raised 2 rounds of funding, less than 10 mil, right? And then it's funded us for almost 3 years. of team of like 20 plus people. So that's a very efficient operation. We still have a couple of years.
Hello. Apologies about that. Web 2.0 problems. Inviting all the panelists onto the screen now. Yeah, apologies. Oof.
No, that's fine. Happens to the best of us.
Post-production, we'll figure it out. We'll put the two videos together. They won't know the tragedy that happened during the event.
No sweat.
So yeah, I think we cut off while Bette was in the middle of her. I think Bette was speaking at the moment.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a sign that I should cut it short. So yeah, I was trying to say, so in terms of bootstrapping a startup, it's a very efficient way to do it. And then I think the third element there is, comparing to East 2.0, right? Both are sharded systems. Basically, there's a hub in the middle, and there's different shards or parachains around the central hub. But the major difference is on Ethereum, every shard is exactly the same, right? So if you paying certain gas fees on one shard, you're gonna have to stick to the same economy on every other shard. There's no room for you to customize. Whereas on Polkadot, every single parachain can be very much different. That's why you see 4 different teams here, and there's like tens of hundreds out there. They're all gonna come out with different style of how they perceive the world, creating value for the world would be. They can customize to the level that will suit, their own audience, their own community, their own customers that they want to serve. And there you come, the specialization is always going to trump generalization, right? So I think that is way superior in terms of vision and thinking, but also able to execute that today. We all gone live and kind of proven feature-wise, it's all working from the white paper that envisioned like 3 years ago. So that's me. Thanks.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Elliot.
Shall I? Well, hey, to put it short, Nodal, we initially demonstrated our MVP on a network called Stellar. We are not, Polkadot, we're not like, first version was not on Polkadot, it was on something called Stellar. And over time, we wanted to decentralize the network a bit more. And we wanted to do more things, and we wanted to customize more things. Obviously, that was a bit difficult to do with Stellar. So we looked at other stacks and technologies. We did many prototypes, some on Ethereum, some on Cosmos, some even on Near, EOS, all those kind of things. And all the times we had to reinvent the wheel, because all these platforms come with their own limitations and are typically very hard to customize, and in some cases are not customizable enough. Especially, if you remember at the beginning, I mentioned we are having like 5 million smartphones, 80 million devices. We've got to do quite a few customizations to make sure that what we do is done in a performant way. There's 2, I would say, shortlisted winners of that, research were Cosmos and Substrates. And to be frank, we kind of like Cosmos at the beginning because most of our stack is calling based and Cosmos is calling based. Main issue with Cosmos is that you have to do things the Cosmos way. It was not that easy to change. But when we looked at Substrates, things were very modular, very easy to change, and we were able to apply all the modifications we needed. So we ended up selecting for Substrates. We never looked back. And for 2 years and a half of development, we love it. And what we ended up doing is that, we didn't start thinking about Polkadot. We started thinking of Substrates. At some point, we were like, well, it turns out that you can also connect that to a network called Polkadot. And what Polkadot would allow us is to then become composable with all the other networks, meaning today we have Pontem, we have Moonbeam, we have Acala. Like we can be composable with a few efforts, but not, too much. It could be composable with you guys and with anyone else. And that's way better than just running your own chain on the side and being isolated and not being able to integrate with anyone and having to do all the legwork, to get users, to get listed, to do everything.
Amazing. That's a great perspective from the development side too. And next up we'll have Stas.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, first of all, we've been big believers in Polkadot. I mean, we participated in the initial round back in 2017 because we like it, the whole vision of Internet of Chains. Having said it, we kind of spent a lot of time building actually on Cosmos as well. We built a fully working stack on Cosmos, which been running for the last 2 years. But then once we seen everything that happens with Polkadot and the power substrate, we then said, okay, we might want to change our tech stack. And one of the biggest motivators was that move is actually very similar in syntax and in structure to Rust. So because most of the Cosmos was built in Go and Solidity is very JavaScript-like, we actually seen that when we try to present it to developers working in those two ecosystems, we kind of get a education curve. People have to have to program Rust in order to be able to start working with the Move. That's basically Move is a language which is used by DM and the Move virtual machine. So once we basically moved over to Polkadot, we suddenly seen that a lot of people who develop on Rust on Substrate actually could pick up working with Move easier. So it made a lot of sense from that point of view. The other main goal was that, when people come and they build something on Pontem, or will be building something on Pontem, they should expect, some kind an ecosystem through which they can experiment and build their own code. So, for example, we are not looking to solve the problem of liquidity. This is something which we aim to work with. For example, Acala, and basically to use their liquidity pools, so developers building on Pontem could tap into those pools. For example, we do not plan to support Ethereum. We don't want to have our own machines, so that's why we talk with projects like Moonbeam in order to so basically people could offload basically run their already existing code on on the Ethereum on Solidity there. So for us it makes a lot of sense when there is an ecosystem of networks of chains being built and each of them answers on certain need that we can enable our people who build on top of Pontem to tap into. And provided that Kusama goes as planet and Polkadot goes as planet, and there will be like hundreds, thousands of chains, each of them answering on their own needs. We really see this letting people building on top of Pontem just having a library, which just allows them to import the chain that they want to work against and just develop against this. And once it's up and running, we kind of aim to have parallels for this on DM, always regulated, permissioned, but still parallels. So people who build the code on on top of Pontem and it's working, and they work against those partner projects, like Acala, like Moonbeam, like others, they can then later on translate their code into DM, and either support those partners or kind of reuse the facilities that DM doing, but without much code modifications. So in actual, for us, it's very important, that we will be able to provide all the spectrum of various ideas and innovation that will be, people are bringing on, on Polkadot, without having to, replicate it ourselves and spend time on that, because it's not our core business, not our core proficiency. We're much better off, focusing on being as compatible to DM as possible, and provide tools which enable migration to DM as possible, and create facilities that will allow tapping into those, partner projects and just, releasing them. And, Polkadot, it's totally, the best, in our opinion, the best bet to make that happen.
Amazing.
Cool. I'll just add a couple more points quickly on the more non-technical side. So a lot of the teams have mentioned how they either like tried building on Cosmos or thought about building on Cosmos. And this is one thing that I think for non-developers is a little bit more difficult to understand as far as like, what's the difference between Cosmos, Polkadot? Why would you choose to build on Polkadot versus Cosmos? And when it comes down to it, I think one of the biggest reasons that that this exists that hasn't really been mentioned yet either is because with Polkadot, Bette mentioned this $30 billion in security that we have because of all these validators running the network. The benefit of Polkadot is all you have to do is win this Parachain auction, and then you get to just plug in to that existing set of security. So the $30 billion that's securing Polkadot is also going to secure Acala when we launch on Polkadot. Now that's Polkadot. So then switching over to Cosmos, there's not this hub and spoke model in Cosmos. It's all independent chains that are being built and have to basically build up their own set of validators. So just imagine the amount of effort that takes as a development team versus us in the Polkadot ecosystem. We can just focus on building our products and don't have to worry about building that set of validators. And then one other comment I wanted to make that I think is pretty underappreciated with Substrate and the way everything works is Substrate has this concept of forkless upgrades. I know everyone knows about the Bitcoin Cash fork, the Ethereum forks. With Substrate, Polkadot has only been live, I think, for about a year, maybe a little bit over a year. And I believe it's 24, maybe 25 upgrades that Polkadot has done since launch, where if that was being done on Ethereum or other layer ones, that would have required a fork. So if you can think about over time how much we can innovate on Polkadot at the Polkadot layer, but also at the Parachain layer, constantly upgrading our chains, it's just going to allow us to continuously get better over time instead of being this kind of stagnant chain that has a risk of getting outdated. So just another reason why I think many of us chose to build with Substrate.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, every project here has either won the Kusama Parachain auction or going for the auction to benefit from all the other things from the security that the Polkadot ecosystem provides. Which leads us to our next panel question. Emre had brought up some interesting statistics around the Parachain auction so far. I think mentioned there's over 19,000 unique addresses that participated. I was looking into some data as well, and looks like over half the contribution to the crowd loan auctions are coming from very small contributors. It's not just whales that are participating and pumping numbers. You're getting massive amounts of individuals participating from all across the globe. So it looks like community engagement and community rallying is really, really important for this process, for the crowd loan process. So how are you guys making sure this is happening? How are you guys engaging with your own community? How are you guys engaging new people who are new to Polkadot ecosystem? What has been some of the best strategies that you guys have implemented?
Same order as before. Should I
Maybe
talk again?
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think well, there's kind of the main audience you're trying to focus on for your project, and then there's kind of which can be to varying degrees overlapping with like who it is that's interested in your in your crowd. For us, like we're 100% focused on just on developers, right, as like the main like target audience we're trying to engage with and build features for. That's informed like all of our roadmap features. But I would say, yeah, like when it comes to the crowd loan, it is it's that audience, but then also like other audiences. And we saw as well kind of your observation that there was a lot of smaller contributors coming in. I frankly see that as just a strength of like the Polkadot kind of ecosystem, because I would say that, I mean, as much effort as we, I don't know, a lot of the other teams here put in to marketing, trying to and kind of getting a message out there about what was happening, it's still pretty complicated, right? So it's like it required kind of a complex set of steps. We had to build several dApps to even kind of create like flows that would like make sense, and yet still there was like a huge amount of participation. So I think that and that definitely that was kind of interesting to us. And I think as the tooling and kind of like, I mean, I know that you guys have like some efforts in this area too to kind of make some of these things a little bit more accessible. I anticipate that there would be even like more participation, coming from a larger audience that's not necessarily developer or kind of like technically oriented.
Well, I guess shall we continue the circle or shall we switch to Acala?
Yeah, it's free for all. There's no specific
All right,
order.
so let's jump in. So from our point of view at Nodal, our crowd loan would address two audiences. One of them will be a community that's supporting your project, that just believes into you guys. The other one is, let's face it, speculation. And speculation can be driven by many things. It can be driven by how your project seems in terms of quality, and whether your crowd loan seems attractive. Community-wise, I mean, in terms of best strategy, I think we're not reinventing the wheel necessarily. It's all about educating your users, maybe putting in place ambassador programs, putting together learning resources, wikis, and making sure that everybody is up to date on what's going on. So we did not launch for a crowd loan just yet, because reasons and strategies and many other things. But hey, we're getting ready, and our community to us is very important as well. Then again, there's the speculation side. And if we look at the projects that did get a Parachain slot, something about you guys, Bette, Dan, Derek, it seems like, good quality projects raise more participations, and which makes sense. We're also focusing on making sure that, delivering good things and that we stay true to our roadmap and promises.
Thank you. Oh, Bette, I think you're muted. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. So for us at Acala, I think because we're very early builders, and then part of us have this heart that felt that a lot of stuff that's been built in Polkadot is very advanced, and then we carry part of the responsibility to share that vision in a way that is more relatable to people, because a lot of things, because it's Polkadot is this technology, like people often say it's layer 0, and then even a crowd loan mechanism that keeps everybody in the loop very accountable is actually very advanced. It's actually very well thought through. But unless you have a very concrete example to show people, oftentimes majority of people just find it very abstract, especially how Polkadot works and how that it can actually impact the world type of things. So for us, it's very early on, we kind of see the crowd loan as a reverse ICO, because in a way that ICO is a good way for crowdfunding and then to bootstrap a project, right? I think even till today, it is still a cool way to bootstrap a project. And the intention is really good. It's just technically you cannot enforce accountability of delivery from any teams that's done an ICO. And then if that's not enforceable, especially on the blockchain itself, then you can see 99.99% of those funding has gone nowhere. Well, gone somewhere, but there's nothing much delivered, right? Very few projects come out of a huge ICO, probably still actively building today. And also, it has a lot of humanity element in it. If the project founder is in there for the money, right? And then once you've raised 200 mil out of an ICO, you've got everything you wanted, right? Then you lose sight of what you're trying to achieve initially, right? So there's a lot of this sort of human element, incentive alignment element in there that ICO didn't actually have the facility to enforce. So a crowd loan mechanism actually enforces that accountability, because the crowd loan actually doesn't take the principal. It actually returns the principal to the crowd loan participants. So as an individual that I'm trying to support the project, I get my principal back after a period of time, after the project launched for a period of time. And then for the project, we get an opportunity to launch. Basically, we can't touch the funds. We can't use it for any purposes. It's all locked on the crowd loan module on Polkadot or Kusama. All we get is a chance. We get a shot as a startup that we are able to deliver what we said we could deliver on our white paper or in our vision. And then we have to continue proving that, right? Because at the end of the day, if we couldn't deliver after 2 years, we get nothing because the funding we didn't get. And then the chain, if didn't actually create any value, we've given out a whole bunch of our own tokens to our community with nothing, right? So that sort of incentive keeps the project very accountable. We have to keep delivering good stuff to the community, and we get community support. We deliver the products and also services, create values, and that also helps Polkadot in a way that everybody here brings a lot of usage, awareness, as well as real world applications to the Polkadot ecosystem. That's kind of like a trickle up sort of process, right? Everybody actually benefits through everybody else's efforts. So part of what we are trying to do is make some noise. We're early, we've built our product, but it's important that we also take on a role to actually help other people to understand, because we've done a number of things that actually brought other people into the Polkadot ecosystem, both from resources, backers, as well as communities from external world. I think that's important, as an early contributor in the ecosystem, that we do that, because if Polkadot has a lot of contributors and builders, I think we will benefit as well, and vice versa. So this is an ecosystem that collaborates and uplifts everybody together, rather than in many other ecosystems there seems to be a zero-sum game. Why can't we all collaborate and all gain, right? Because the world is much bigger than the tiny little crypto world that we seem to very focus and live in. So I think that's what the Polkadot architecture very magically able to enforce all of those incentives and human behaviors into partly crowd loan mechanism. So yeah, that's what I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Stas, would you like to go next?
Well, we still haven't, we still haven't applied to, or haven't started the crowd loans. We've been, it's kind of a matter that requires a lot of, in our case, planning, because the competition is becoming very fierce. Everybody's seen what happened, like yesterday with the project that sold it was 3 or 4 times. I think they were oversubscribed with the amount of people who be trying to get there. So I believe that it's kind of interesting, because it's kind of gives kind of serves as a measure of community interest and engagement. If the project creates a lot of interest by the community, it creates a lot of I don't know if it's right to call it FOMO, but I would say people are willing to track it, and people are willing to lock their Kusamas and later Polkadot, for the sake of natural voting for this project. I think it's kind of creates a very good level of obligation, because basically it's like a lot of cost of opportunity. So people are locking their tokens, for 48 weeks. So I guess they will be very carefully considering who they're going to do it for. Because it's a bit different than ICO, because in ICO usually could spray and pray, and maybe somebody will jump up and will cover all your expenses, all investments. But with the crowd loans, it's it's the more you lock, the more chances, the more you get outside. So I guess people will be much more selective this time, compared to ICOs. They will be maybe are inclined to put all their eggs in a single basket, or maybe out of 5, maybe in 2 or 3, for those projects available. So I guess we could really use it, as a community measure, of interest inside. So I think it's actually will be a very good, feedback to the project itself, because if they for some reason didn't make it into crowd loan, then it will be a good indication that something should be changed. Something should be updated. Maybe the marketing, maybe the messaging, maybe the engagement with community. So I think it will be very good because before even a project spends all the time and effort actually because once you have a slot to a unit, you have to maintain it, you have to keep it. You have to work it. So it will be like a very good indication if the project is even there from community perspective, if it's there and ready to run. So I say it will be very interesting, and we obviously congratulate that Moonbeam and Acala already passed it, and we also looking to learn as much as possible from your guys' experience and others. And yeah, hope that we will have enough community recognition that people will vote for us with their tokens as well. So that's like our goal. We're still not there, but we're definitely going to start working on this in this month, next month, and we'll jump into one of the options.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So from my end, and just in terms of how we approached engaging the community around crowd loans, one thing that I think is important for everyone to just remember as we work on these projects and we all kind of work together on growing the Polkadot ecosystem. Over the summer, I was home in my hometown and I did a presentation to this local business group, and I was talking about what is Bitcoin and what is crypto. We have to remember that most of the world has no idea even what Bitcoin is, let alone what parachains are and parachain slot auctions and all this stuff that we are so used to talking about. So that's, I think, the approach that all of us should take when we're educating people, is not talking about even the word parachain is confusing, simplifying everything down to what is this? What are you building? How does it help the contributor or the user? And simplifying as much as possible. So that's what we did when talking about explaining Polkadot, which I think all of us probably find ourselves needing to explain first, what is Polkadot before you move into your own project, which is an interesting challenge. So explaining Polkadot simply, and then talking about what Karura was and how these parachain auctions worked and why people should be excited about it and contribute to that. The good thing is for all of us that there's 5 finished and 6 through 10 are about to be finished. And it's really exciting and interesting to see this Kusama and Polkadot model playing out exactly, I think, how Gavin envisioned it. Because think about what's going to happen when we do these Polkadot auctions. There's going to be tens of thousands of people who have already done this before. And it's just okay, cool. Here's the team that I support, and they go and they do it. It's not going to be the first time they did it. So it'll be much easier for all the teams launching on Polkadot than it was for Derek and us launching on Kusama first, because it was an unbelievable amount of work having to just educate everybody. So I guess thanks to Gavin for thinking of this model of testnet, Kusama, and Polkadot, because it's been helping our products. It's been helping us from a community standpoint, even unexpectedly on the DeFi side with our risk parameters. Working with Gauntlet to help us set our risk parameters, they were even telling me it's so helpful to be able to have real world data coming from Karura in our real life DeFi environment. That's going to inform the models that we have for Acala when we launch on Polkadot, instead of just kind of blindly guessing and running models off of testnet data. So yeah, just a few thoughts on that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'll do a separate shout out for Dan too, because he puts out amazing content out there. You should follow everyone on this panel on Twitter, but Dan especially puts out a lot of educational content that simplifies all the stuff. And I learned a lot through his content too. So thank you for that too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think we're almost out of time. So I'll let you guys wrap up. Let's do outro. If you have last comments on how they can follow up on this to learn about your specific project, or follow you on social media, or maybe even see how they can participate in the upcoming auctions from your teams, please let us know.
Sure. I guess I'll start again. Seems like I'm first in queue here, but for the project, I would say just moonbeam.network. The website is a place where you can is a good jumping off point for all variety of different things, our social channels, information, a doc site, and so on. I guess the comment I would leave to the audience, I know that many folks in the audience may be kind of learning about Polkadot for the first time. So I'd say that the Polkadot ecosystem is complex, but it's like very like rich and rewarding for those that take the time to kind of engage with it and to understand it. You know, it's a great community. There's a ton of great projects. There's like a huge amount of developer activity. So I think it's like, I guess my message would be, don't be intimidated. Like, it is a little bit like complex, but like, you know, and even this happens to me all the time, right? You kind of realize, as Dan was saying, that there's like a little bit of genius behind like a lot of the decisions have been made and how the system works. And so, yeah, it's like it's worthwhile to like spend some of your energy to like engage and kind of understand it. And that's not just Moonbeam. That's, you know, all the other projects, Acala, and all the other projects that are going to be launching Parachains. So I'll leave you with that.
Perfect. Well, hey, I'm going to drop Nodo's Twitter, Nodo's website, and my own Twitter in the chat. Very happy to have been here today with all of you guys. I think, as you said, Derek, where, you know, early in that ecosystem, there's many things going on. I think there's many even better things coming. And so, you know, just keep on learning, keep on improving, and keep on building.
Yeah, for me, just Acala Network. Also can find me on Twitter. I cannot remember my Twitter handle, but it's something like Bette Chen something. Last words will be, you know, really good stuff, lasting stuff takes time to build, and that's why we're all here. You know, people who actually stick around, willing to spend the time and grind. There's something good that's going to come out of it, right? With genuine effort. So I also appreciate everyone, you know, kind of been around supporting all of us here for years. That's like a lifetime for crypto. But I think we're building something that's way longer, you know, for lasting way longer than that. So yeah, so that's all I would say. Thanks.
Thank you. And Stas?
Yeah. So, I mean, you can always check us out on Polkadot Network site. And I think Alejandro, our CMO, has posted the links in the chat. Also Twitter, Polkadot Network. We basically invite everybody to, you know, to check us out, you know, to start getting, you know, exposed, you know, to the, we believe, to the wonderful world of, you know, of move technology, of DM, of, you know, where metaverse is going. We've been very actively posting new content in our blog, you know, in our Medium. Actually, people say it's quite a good one. I mean, people like it because we post a lot of educational materials there about where it's all going. I mean, you know, that basically Facebook and metaverse are basically very bullish, you know, on what they call it, you know, like the extended reality. And there's a lot of talk about, like, you know, adding NFTs and social networks and, you know, like social tokens, and, you know, play to earn and gaming tokens to make this all in context of a metaverse environment. We hope that we will be able to, you know, bring exciting teams inside the space, you know, that we will be the bridge, so to say, you know, the quantum bridge, you know, for teams to come out of this, you know, our, you know, space where there's a lot of creativity, a lot of, you know, innovation, and help them, you know, to get, you know, regulated, to get, you know, permission and get listed on DM. And we truly hope, you know, for these use cases that we will be able to bring over there and, you know, expose them, you know, like to, you know, millions and hundreds of millions and maybe billions of people that will be using, you know, DM and metaverse. So we totally invite everybody to come to check out. I mean, it's still not very known. I mean, especially in our ecosystem. I mean, a lot of people kind of, when they hear Facebook, you know, they kind of have some, you know, have some presumptions, which, okay, but, you know, but again, you cannot ignore, you know, the size of them and what they're building. And, you know, just last bit, we actually already seen, like, you know, some change in the ecosystem. For example, you know, Ivan on Tech, like, started, you know, doing research, you know, into DM. He even mentioned us, you know, like, totally organically, have not even spoke with him. And it seems that a lot of, you know, thought leaders are slowly starting to understand that something happening over there, and they should, you know, they should be on the spot and they should be looking into it and, you know, try to follow up. So we totally welcome it, and we totally open, you know, for anybody who wants to come to learn more about DM, you know, metaverse, on-them us, move, and, you know, help them to get on board and build something cool.
Cool. And from me, I'll just say a lot of what we talk about in the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystem, like Bette said, it takes time to come out and to roll out, be developed, and launch. It's like a very good feeling now to be able to actually use things on Kusama. So I would encourage people, if you're interested in what this tech actually can do, check out our apps on Karura. So we've been live for I think a few weeks now. We've got our DEX stablecoin and liquid staking is in the process of finishing its launch, and there's a couple guides there for you as well. So encourage you to check that out if you have time. And yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been good to be up here with everyone else.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. We'll be sending out a follow-up email with all the project's information, today's video, and the panel, the presentation slides. So yeah, really excited to have everyone and get their perspective. Thank you again for making the time, and all the audience members for joining. And shout out to Blockchain at Berkeley and Stanford Blockchain Club again.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having us. Bye-bye.